My name is McClain, United States Army. Well, I was born in 1936. I was born in Monroeville, Alabama. To Kill a Mockingbird is where I was born. It's my hometown. The incident happened there. Harper Lee and I are neighbors. I dropped out of high school in the 6th grade. I was a farmer. So I dropped out to be a full-time farmer. So I was 18 years on the farm, after which I enlisted for the military at age 18. I re-enlisted for 2 years, 1954, at age 18. And I went to Fort Jackson for my training. And December the 15th, 1954, I was assigned to Fort Bragg. And I stayed at Fort Bragg until 1957, is where I made my first overseas tour. Basic training was really an eye-opener. On the farm, for instance, we didn't work when it was raining, so I can remember when they issued me my equipment, I threw my equipment in the corner and I went to bed. And that Monday morning it was raining, so I stayed in bed. So the type came in, kicked the bed over, and called me a few names, instructed me that it didn't rain in the Army, it rained on the Army. And he suggested I get out there in the formation, which I did. And that was the beginning of my Army career, to follow instruction. I found it to be very interesting. I learned how to maintain my weapon, which was my best friend, and go through all of this rigorous training, hand-to-hand combat, and you name it. And it was totally different from the life that I had been brought up. But after 21 years of it, I finally got it right. I went to Okinawa in 1957. And 1960, I went to Germany. And 1963, I was back at Okinawa. 1970, I went to Vietnam for a year. I went overseas in 1957 the first time, from Fort Bragg to Okinawa, 1957. Well, I was assigned to the field artillery, that 280 millimeter cannon, which is no longer in existence. And I handled the ammunition for S4. There was no I to do it at that time. It was, no, I didn't see an action at that time. And I stayed there until 58, really, and the unit all gyroed from Okinawa to Korea. So we actually left Okinawa in 58 and went to Korea. And I stayed with that unit in the field artillery until 58, which time I came back to the stateside. My second tour, I got assigned in a guided missile unit in Texas, and I was a missile that was on guided missiles. And we left Texas and came to Redstone Arsenal. I was still in the missile unit. In 1960, my missile unit transferred overseas to Wiesbaden, Germany. So in 1960, I went to Wiesbaden, Germany with the missile unit I was assigned to. And as a matter of fact, I was there when they erected the Berlin Wall. I left in '62, so I was over there when they erected the Berlin Wall in Germany. Well, we in Germany. I came from Germany back to stateside, and I was assigned to 13th Field Hospital, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Very nice assignment. I mean, real nice. But I got real bored with it, and up to this point, I was not on jump status. I wasn't even thinking about jumping out of the airplane or riding on an airplane. However, because to the unit I was in, it was so quiet, so laid back, I had to have some excitement. So I volunteered to go on jump status. And I went to Fort Belvoir, not Fort Belvoir, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for my jump training. And after my graduated from jump school, I was assigned to First Special Forces Group in Okinawa in 1963. And that's when I joined the First Special Forces Group in Okinawa in 1963. Well, this young man in the picture, it was 1963, and I think that was my first jump. And I had to make 5 successful jumps. And I was a PLC at that time, so this was me and my first jump. This started my my jump career, and I actually wound up being a jump master. Yes, ma'am. So that's the beginning of my jumping. I told you I was a jump master. And I made quite a few jumps. And they teach you in jump school what to do when you are in certain situations. For instance, they teach you that if you are going into another jumper in the air, you spread eagle and bounce off of their suspension lines. Well, I jumped, and I was going into a jumper, and I spread eagle like they taught me, but the wind shifted, and I went through suspension lines and came back through a different set, and we was all tangled up. So I just walked myself back in and grabbed a hold of his suspension lines, and we came down safely, all tangled up, so we turned all that into the river. The other occasion, I jumped, and they teach you that if you're on a jumper chute, naturally you don't have any air because you got a vacuum. He has the air. If you find yourself in that situation, you just tumble off of his chute and you grab a hold of his suspension line and you walk yourself down hand over hand until you get to his webbing and you face him, and when you all hit the ground, you do PLF separate ways. Well, I jumped out, I was on top of his chute, and he started cussing at me, get off my chute. My chute wouldn't open, and I figured I better not climb down, I better stay out of his reach. And I grabbed over his suspension line, and I rolled down with him safely, because my chute wouldn't open. So I had those 2 experiences, and being a paratrooper. Now, as you notice, I got my reserve right here, and that's my main chute. Well, it was deployed, but it wouldn't open because I didn't have any air. And my reserve wouldn't work either. So I had to ride down with him. And so we came down safe. So those 2 incidents, I survived 2 chutes not open. Yes, ma'am. Believe it or not, I was reacting without even thinking. It just, once you train so much, you actually can react without thinking about it. But in this incident right here, see, there was nothing in the book telling me what to do. So I had to be very creative and very quick. Going to a foreign country was real exciting, very, very educational, something I always wanted to do. I find traveling in a foreign country, people were different, but many ways the same. For instance, in Okinawa, even though I couldn't speak the language, but I noticed that, for instance, the kids were playing games over there similar to what we would find in the United States with the same rules. And I found that that was very interesting, but also, even though I could not speak that language, there were certain needs that we all shared. For instance, if an Okinawan got hurt, they bled red just like me. And I learned something traveling in foreign country, even though I may not be able to speak their language. But I found that if I respected their culture, their ways of life, and showed compassion, I find that that was a universal language, if you will, that anytime you show love, then that's a universal language. I found that to be true in whatever country I went in. And I made it a practice to respect their way of life and show compassion. And I imagine that attribute a lot to me being here today. Each one of those tours was very, very exciting. For instance, I went to Okinawa in '57 and then again in '63. And I met some of the same people in '63 and they remembered me in 1957. Yes, in Germany was a very pleasant tour. Vietnam wasn't so pleasant. But I'm thankful that I got over there and got back. I never walked the point because I was not in the infantry. I took infantry training, but my assignment was a different sort. And in Vietnam, where I was stationed, there was no point. It just you just had the enemy all around, so to speak. But now in the infantry units, there are point men, but I never was a point man. It was a sad situation, and the way soldiers was treated, they were not appreciated, but people seem to be more appreciative now than they were 60-some years ago. I think it's one thing that the older people that has one kind of mindset have kind of moved up the scene. I think we got some new people who begin to appreciate things that their ancestors didn't appreciate. I was very angry when I left Vietnam, and I really didn't want anyone to talk to me about Vietnam if they hadn't been there. And then when I got home, I relaxed, because in Vietnam I could really never relax, but when I got home I just went to sleep and relaxed. I got over my anger, and I don't have any flashback, any PTSD or anything like that, but I attribute my well-being to the fact that my salvation experience. And because of that, I don't have any problem with it. And I reach out to others who do have problems, because I understand where they are. It's terrible when you just death all around you, and you never know when you're going to get it. One of my things, in Vietnam, I had to post guards, for instance. And I had to commit them out here on a lonely post that the enemy was just right across the fence. And a lot of them would just get drunk, do all kind of things, because they figure, well, I'm going to die in the house, so I have to, kind of talk to them and that sort of thing. Only if you were over there that you could understand them. And when they come back here to the state, they have problems because so many people do not understand what they've gone through. So I'm very fortunate to be able to still stay in contact with them, even working with NABVETS Chaplain. Even though they don't pay me too much attention, I can tell them what's right, what they do, what they want to do. I'm very understanding. My uncle was encouraged. He was in World War II, and I was impressed by his uniform. But more important, there was a dear friend of mine who re-enlisted in '53, and he went. They took his training and he came back, and I was very impressed with him. And then he went back in Korea, and then he got killed, and that really incited me to really want to be a soldier as a result of him. So I went in 1954, and so I can think back. So him and my uncle were very instrumental in influencing me for the military. I find that the young people today had a different view on military duty. I've talked to a lot of young men in school, and a lot of those young men are fearful either of getting killed or killing someone else. And so it's a strange thing when they don't want to kill someone else, but they're going to the streets and kill one another. And that I can't understand that, but they have a different mindset now than when it was when I went in. They just don't seem to want to serve, either because they're fearful of dying or killing someone else. And I think every young person ought to want to go in and serve their country. I've met a lot of people who are conscientious objectors. Won't go in, but they'll get in the ring and beat a person's brains out, or go hide somewhere else. And this is the best country on earth. I've been to other countries, but America is a real special place, and citizens ought to really want to serve and appreciate those who have served. Right now, I'm serving as a national chaplain of a veteran organization. I'm a volunteer, and I see a need to keep on serving, and that's what I do. I was approached in 2008 by a retired lieutenant colonel who was looking for Maine number 7 to start a chapter in Charlotte. And he gave me an application, and I called him after I got home, and I asked him 2 questions. The first question I asked him was this organization all black? And the second question was, did they have a chaplain? Well, of course, both answers was negative. It was not all black, it's for all veterans, and they did not have a chaplain. So I put my name down to be the chaplain, and I'm Maine number 7 in the chapter in Charlotte, North Carolina, 0051, Charlotte, North Carolina. And I started my NABVET career there in '08. And I served as chaplain, the local, the state, as well as the regional. I was a regional chaplain at that time. And I watched them grow, and since that day, 2011, they created the national chaplain position, and I'm the first national chaplain of the NABVET, and where I'm still serving. I'm required to, and I do travel. We have chapters all over the United States, as well as in Hawaii and Guam, and I do travel. I have to travel. We have 9 regions, and we do travel and create chapters and doing workshops as well as our conventions. And we have every 2 years, every even year, we have our national conventions. And we just had the last one in Louisville, Kentucky. And we are planning we have to vote, decide whoever we're going to have 2018. But every 2 years we have a national convention at the state that is elected by the National Command Council. And whichever state, then the regional commander is responsible for making it happen. So we're looking forward to 2018 somewhere, wherever they decide, but we will have another national convention. We've had one here in Charlotte in 2012. We had one in Charlotte. 2010, I attended one in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And 2014, we was in New York. So we do get around. Yes, it's very, very important to be connected to the comrades as well as their families. There are, when you are a comrade, you are a comrade for life. We need to really fellowship more, because there are situations that has happened in a soldier's life that a civilian would never understand, for instance. And if you're a combat soldier, if you have not been in combat, you won't understand a combat soldier way of thinking. There's a part of it, for instance, PTSD and suicide. I've done writing on suicide, and I talk to people, and a lot of people have thanked me for talking to them and for them not killing themselves. So it's very, very important that even though we retired, we need to stay connected. I've had the privilege of even funeralizing a lot of my comrades that I served with. I was called into the ministry in 1960 in Wiesbaden, Germany. And since then, I've had the privilege of ministering and funeralizing a lot of my comrades that I served with. And I stay in contact with a lot of them even now. I go to Fort Bragg quite frequently. There are some down there, and I travel other places and I meet comrades doing my travel. But in NABVET, we really have kind of a hand-on with a lot of comrades and their families. And we need to get more exposure than we have been getting. So, yes, it's very important that we soldiers keep reaching out to each other. Now, that was another story. I used to make rank, and I would lose my rank. So, about 10 years, I was a PFC. This picture was taken, and I had been in about 9 years. So I finally got wise after about 10 years, and I was E7 when I retired. I was recommended for warrant officer. I didn't accept that, however, but I was an E7 when I retired. But I have a whole lot of good conduct, believe it or not. I had Vietnam service medals and all kind of other medals I didn't bring, but they're listed on my DD-214. This is what they, 82nd Airborne Division, August 7, 1970 until May 1975. This is a similar combat soldier, what I actually looked like in combat. And it was given to me in my battalion as I was leaving the 82nd, going back to the 6th group, Special Forces group, they wanted me this. I served with 3 Special Forces groups. I served with the 1st, the 5th, and the 6th. And I retired from the 5th group in 1975. So on my exit from the 82nd, this showed me what they gave me. And that tells the whole story right here. I guess I brought this to show how a comeback troop actually look when you're dressed to win a war. After 21 years, it just comes natural to you. My wife said, "Oh, to me, it's just a natural thing." But when people looking, I guess I'll be looking like I'm marching or whatever, but it's just something you automatically do after 21 years. That's what you do. My wife seems to think that I'm stately, whatever that means. But I don't be marching, counting caters and stuff like that. No, ma'am. I just go from point A to point B, you know. But I imagine that after you spend 21 years in there, you're bound to come out looking like a soldier. I came to Mecklenburg County in 1994 from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I came to Gaston County in 2004. For the last couple of years, I've been extremely busy. I am not too busy now. The reason why I was so busy for the last couple of years, because I ran for county commissioner here in Gaston County. And that kept me quite busy. I also have a nonprofit organization that I had to kind of put on hold while I was running for commissioner. So now I no longer run for commissioner, but I still have the same idea that I intend to get accomplished as I did when I ran for commissioner. My concern is, among other things, resource management. I'll summarize it by saying resource management. And I mean human as well as natural. Therefore, my organization is One Step Transition Home Ministry. I'm concerned about our youth today. They go through and water the state, 18 years old, through this, they put them on the streets. I intend to do something about that. So that's what I'm involved with now. I meet with the veteran, but I deal with it from my position here as a national chaplain, dealing with veterans and their family. But also my concern in this county, the homeless veterans, particularly homeless mothers with dependent children, is not enough done. So I intend to see that something done about that in this county as well. I haven't made the better parade. I had a parade, several parades when I was running for commissioner, but I have not participated in. We do have parade. NABVETS participate. I have not yet participated in the parade, but I'm looking forward to it. But we do have the parades, and I have not yet participated. Shame on me. What these are? First of all, this is our this is our walking. We have several different uniforms and NABVETS. This happens to be the walking uniform, and on one lapel I have the Army pin, and the other one is a Marine. The reason why we have all types of all branches of service in NABVETS. But the Marines, you know, they're real special, and they allowed me, the Marines allowed the chaplain to wear their pin. And so I got one of them belongs to the Marines, and the other belongs to the Army. And then of course this right here is actually most people probably don't know what that is. We did adopt this as a NABVET pen, but that's really in the continent of Africa with the United States inside of it. They show you the relationship. A lot of people don't know that. But that's really what it is, the continent of Africa. And I outlined my autobiography, and I started writing it, and I just put the pencil down. And really, I don't know if I got lazy or what, but I had a reason for not writing it until now. But it really tells my story. I was a dreamer in Alabama. I had to figure out how to get off of that farm. My father died when I was 6 years old, and I had to drop out of school at 6th grade. But I always dreamed. I dreamed about faraway places, dream travel, military, and all education. I couldn't get an education, but I always dreamed about, about what does the book says. And I went in the military. I never stopped dreaming. And I realized every dream that I had, I was blessed to realize every dream, but something happened to me that was beyond my wildest dream, which is what the book is about. 1959 in Petersburg, Virginia. I was stationed there and I was singing, and I saw a little girl one day, and she told me her name was Ann George Grant. And I said, "Where you going?" "I'm going to church. Can I go with you?" "Yes." I followed Miss Ann to church. And when I got to that church, that preacher was preaching, I got convicted. I have not been the same since. I lost Miss Ann, but it was something else I gained more valuable. And that's really what my whole life is about today. So the book just tells that wonderful experience. I hope to leave a legacy. One Step Transition Home Ministry is an organization that I want to implement here, that there be leave a legacy for all of the young people as well as the older people, generation to come. I ran for commissioner, not to be the commissioner, but to let the county and the world see someone who is walking in godly integrity. We ought to tell the truth. We ought to, if we say it, we ought to do it. And that's why I ran for commissioner, to let them see someone will do just what he said. And we need to be held accountable.